couple of years ago, 2 years ago, in fact, I was at a conference, and I met a guy named Bill, and Bill told his story. In his own words, he said, my mother and I were walking down the street on a block where we live north of St. Petersburg in Pinellas Park, Florida. And he said, my mom worked as a barmaid at the Welcome Inn on Park Boulevard. And he said, we stopped and we sat down on a concrete culvert that was built over a little drainage ditch. And Bill's telling this story. And she was very quiet that day. And after a few minutes, his mom stood up and said, I can't do this anymore. You wait right here. And Bill said, I did exactly what my mama said. I sat there and I waited for her to come back. The sun went down and she still wasn't back. For 3 days, I sat in the hot Florida sun on a concrete culvert. I didn't know where to turn. If I'd known how to pray, I would have done that. But he said, but prayer had no place in our home. All I could do was try to be brave and choke back the tears that would fill up my eyes. Bill stayed there for 3 days, and his mom never came back. Can you imagine that? 3 days. A mechanic by the name of Dave Rudeness, who lived nearby, noticed him sitting there. And instead of passing him by, he went over and sat down on the concrete. He said, hey, my name's Dave. And he started a conversation with him. And he heard Bill's story. Now, Dave was a Christ follower. And Dave took Bill home with him, gave him a place to stay, and then paid for him to go to a summer camp. It was at that camp that Bill Wilson heard the words that changed his life. It was these words, Jesus loves you, and so do I. That summer, Bill made a commitment to follow Jesus, and his life was changed. Bill went to college and went into the ministry. His first assignment was in Davenport, Iowa, where he worked at the First Assembly of God there with Tommy Barnett. The interesting thing about Tommy Barnett is after he left that church, he went to Phoenix, First Assembly, where they launched the LA Dream Center out of that church, and we're part of that network. So this is the early days of that. When Pastor Barnett went to Phoenix, Bill in 1979 moved to Brooklyn, New York. And Bill took an old donated station wagon and he drove around picking up kids and taking them to Sunday school. And every time he picked up one of those little kids, he looked at those children in Brooklyn and said, Jesus loves you, and so do I. Later, that station wagon was replaced by a bus. Since then, he's been beaten, Bill has been stabbed, he's been shot, he's been robbed and hospitalized. But today, Bill Wilson heads up a ministry called Metro World Child. He still drives a bus, but he also has a fleet of buses because he has taken this ministry and he's replicated it around the boroughs and across America, and that every Sunday there are 20,000 kids that are picked up and served every week. And Bill said when those kids, he's telling the story, he says, when those kids get on that bus, I still drive when I can, and I say, Jesus loves you, and so do I. Because I'm not looking into the eyes of kids I don't know, I'm looking into my own eyes. I think about the day that I heard those words. Don't think that I'm urging you today to be the next Bill Wilson. I'm not. God raised him up for a unique ministry. But I'm asking you to be the next Dave Rudis. I'm asking you that on your way to work, just open up your eyes. I'm asking you just to notice. Just to notice that maybe there's somebody that God's going to bring your way. That maybe that there's a need that you can help meet not too far from here.